Hi, everybody, and welcome to the orientation webinar for the Reach Mississippi Instructional Leader Group that's focusing on the Google Certified Educator Level 1 training. If you are watching this because you had technical issues getting into the orientation webinar, our apologies for that. I think that it was an issue with people who were logged into their Google account in an account that was linked to a school account. So if that was the case for you and you couldn't get in, if you would just shoot me an email, you're going to get my email and contact information in just a minute, and we'll get you all squared away. This training or this group is offered by Reach Mississippi. We are the State Personal Development Grant. If you have ever interacted with us before, it's usually in our initiatives related to positive behavior interventions and supports, UDL, or social emotional learning. We are in our fourth 5-year cycle, and so we just started our fourth 5 years in 2021. So the activities in this instructional leader group are related to our new grant. Goal 1 is to increase the percentage of K-12 students with disabilities and without disabilities who are showing growth in English language arts or math on statewide assessments. That's pretty much been one of our goals since we started in 2005. That's where our PBIS work comes, that's where our UDL work comes, and now that's where our SEL work does come. Now, Goal 1 activities, though, are usually only for the school level or the district level. We realized, though, that we had lots of people who wanted to participate in REACH activities, who wanted some professional development that was really more on an individual level. And that's why we added Goal 2, which is to increase the effectiveness of educators and school leaders in the areas of lesson design, student understanding, culture and learning environments, and professional responsibilities. If you think about it, those are the 4 areas that are aligned with the Mississippi Professional Growth System. So we are going to have lots of different activities coming for you in Goal 2 that you don't have to have your whole school participate. You can participate on your own like you are now. Goal 1, like I said, is the whole school, the whole child approach. We're really looking at whole school implementation or district-wide implementation of universal design for learning or positive behavior supports or social emotional learning. So that is a big initiative, and that's a lot of what Reach Mississippi does. But now we have Goal 2 that really looks at the professional growth system and says, how can we help teachers grow based on their individualized needs? And so that's what the instructional leader groups is one of the strategies that we're using for Goal 2. When we had the live meeting, we did introductions, name, and what do you do, kind of what grades do you teach, and where are you from? And then that is something that we can't do asynchronously the way we had it set up. But then we also talked about the Google tools that they were most confident with and least confident with. And there will be a way for you to let me know that very useful information. My name is Dr. Holly Phils. I am the executive director of Reach Mississippi. I have been working with technology-assisted instruction my whole professional career. I did in 2000, an internship, my doctoral internship in distance learning. I've taught using Blackboard, Canvas, WebCT, Schoology, Moodle, Google Classroom, lots of different learning management systems. When I got really thrown into the Google universe, so to speak, though, was like many of you probably when COVID was here, and a lot of schools who didn't have distance learning platforms like Canvas or Blackboard went with the Google suite, because they called it G Suite then, because it was free or at a much lower cost to to users. I will say I'm most confident with Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Slides, probably like most of you. I'm not as confident with Google Keep, Tasks, or Earth. And after today's snafu with Google Meet, I probably should include Google Meet in that list as well. We went over and just said, where are you from? So here's just a few stars and what grade levels are we working with. Now, this is something that you can do. If you will just get your mobile device and just open up your camera, that will bring you to a link that you can participate and tell what Google tools do you feel the most confident with. So if you just open your camera and point it at the QR code up in the upper left-hand corner, then it will open up this survey for you. Just make sure when you've selected the 3 that you feel most confident with, just scroll all the way down to the bottom and click send on your mobile device. And that will update this. It won't update the recording that you're watching, but it will update it for me. So if you need a little more time, just press pause. The next survey, you do the exact same thing. Which 3 Google tools do you feel least confident with? This is going to help me know what we have to go a little deeper, what I have to dig around for, and find you some really good resources to talk about during our weekly show and tell. So if you'll scan that QR code, it brings you to another one. It looks very similar, except instead of saying most confident, it says least confident. So if you'll do that survey for me. If you need more time, just pause the video. All right, so what is an instructional leader group? This is the very first one we've done, so we're going to have some kinks to work out, and so we appreciate your willingness to participate and your patience with us. But instructional leaders are just people who have advanced or specialized training in an area that will help them become more effective, inclusive, and dynamic teachers. So we want you to develop your skills, grow your skills, but we also want you to be able and willing to help others do this as well. So it's not just about you becoming a Google certified educator. It's about now you have these skills that you can help others in your building or in your content area with those things. This is not a training. So if you've done any Reach Mississippi trainings before, this is not a training. This is a group, a dynamic community of learners, like the last bullet says, where we are going to go through materials, and I say we because I'm going to do these with you. Self-paced learning, but you're not alone in doing this. So you're going to have other people who are going through this. Anybody in the world can go take the Google Certified Educator exam if you just register and pay the registration fee. But not everyone who takes it is ready for the exam. So we're going to get ready for that exam together by giving each other mutual support, encouragement, and accountability. What we are going to do is we've gone through a lot of material. I mean, in the last month to 6 weeks, I've been doing nothing but this, going through material, looking for the very best material for you so you can be as efficient as possible with your learning this summer. Where does the content come from? Well, of course, it comes from Google. Like I said earlier, you might know of G Suite or Google Suite for Education. That's what this used to be called. Google likes to change what it calls things. Now it's called Google Workspace for Education. So we're going to learn about all the different tools in the Google universe, in Google Workspace for Education. Google has some really good online materials for you already. First, we're going to look at what they call their fundamentals training. They go through different tasks that you have to do as an educator, and they tell you how all their Google tools can assist you with those tasks. Now, I'm a very linear person. I like to think A becomes before C becomes before C. Gosh, y'all. A comes before B comes before C. And so the fundamentals training, it might click great with your brain. It was kind of a little too global for me. So when I got to the little end of the unit quizzes like you're going to, I didn't always know the answer to the questions because some of the questions are very technical and they ask about specific products and how you do certain things. So the second way we're going to learn that information is through Google's Applied Digital Skills Training. Now, some of you who are classroom teachers, especially of older students, you may be able to use some of these. These tell you how do you use Google Docs, how do you use Google Forms, how do you use forms to give a test. You can use some of these not only for your own professional development, but also to teach your students how to use some of these tools. So that's the second kind of way we're going to learn the content. And then third is Google Help. There's some things that are very new on the exam that just haven't made them their way to the Google's fundamental training or the applied digital skills training. And so I'm going to try to fill in those gaps for you there. So that's where the bulk of the content comes from. It's Google's test, Google gets exam, Google's certification. We want to make sure we go to Google. The fundamentals training, you're going to do anywhere from 3 to 4 units a week. They are self-paced. You don't have to log in at any certain time. Some of them you're going to log into the unit and you're going to click very quickly through them. You're going to already know a lot of the material. So you may or may not have to watch every single video. Some of them you're going to click really quickly through the unit because let's face it, that's what we all do, right? And you're going to get to the end and you're going to take the little self-check quiz that Google has for us. And you're going to say, maybe I need to pay a little more attention to that. And you're going to go back and revisit that. So that's fundamentals training. This is what it looks like up in the upper right-hand side of your screen. You'll log in with your Google account and then it'll keep track of where you are. So you don't have to start from the beginning each time. The applied digital skills looks a little bit different over here on the left. If you look at the left-hand side, it says filter by. If you could keep scrolling down, it would have all the tools listed there. So you could check, I just want to see everything you have for Google Docs or Google Sites or Google Keep. And it would show you that. Now, I've already done that for you. So in a minute, when I show you kind of our week-by-week guide, you'll see that you don't have to go say, well, do they have an applied digital skills training for that? I've already looked all that up for you. And then Google Help. Like I said, that's the best place usually to find the newer tools and the newer features that you aren't going to see very much of in the other two areas. So that's Google's products. That's the first place we're going to go. The other is there are some really good Google trainers out there. These are not Google employees. They are people who have gone through Google Level 1, 2, Google Certified Innovator, and Google Certified Trainer. And they have material out on the web that is designed to help you learn the Google tools, but also pass the Google exam. So the three that I find most helpful are geducator.com. That is John Sowash. He has some materials for us out there for free. Frank Avala, Teaching and Education. His videos, I will say, he's not the most polished presenter. It's not real fancy. His videos aren't very fancy, but they are very, very easy to understand. Very efficient use of your time. And he actually has videos that align with each unit that Google did for us that drills it down a little bit more of what do I need to know for this exam. And then Eric Kurtz runs Control Alt Achieve, and he did a very nice skills checklist that we're going to use, and that's going to kind of help you see where your gaps are. It's going to help you self-assess what you know and what you need more work on. So just to recap, we're going to go through all the Google training materials, things that Google created. We're going to use some vetted tutorials, the tutorials from other Google certified trainers. And then we're going to help one another. We're going to have interactive support. And then hopefully at the end of this, we will all come out and we will all be Google certified educators level 1. So if you're like me, though, you say, okay, it's summer. I want to have some fun, but so just tell me what I need to do. So each week, this is what I suggest you do. This is how I suggest you break your week down. Each week before Tuesday, if you will complete the units that I have scheduled for you in the Google Fundamental units. Now, I'm not going to collect your responses. I'm not going to, you don't have to prove to me that you did the training. That we're in a community of learners. So as a learner, as an adult learner, what you need to bone up on and what you already know. So as you go through those, some of them will go more quickly for some of you than for others, and some you might need a little more time. But if you can have yourself go through the fundamentals units before Tuesday, then that gives us more time to fill in the gaps later in the week. On Tuesday, I'm going to send you a Google form survey to take, and that will help me know what do you really want us to zoom in on in our live meeting on Thursday or Friday each week. So that's going to give me a little more information of, everybody was struggling with this, or somebody found a really cool thing related to this tool, and we're going to show that and tell each other how to do those things. Then you're going to see in the weekly materials, you're going to do the Google Fundamental Unit. And if you're like me, you're going to get to the end of some and say, yep, got it, check. You're going to get to the end of some and go, huh? What was that? And so you're going to have to fill in the gaps. You're going to say, I'm going to need to have that told to me another way, or I'm going to need somebody to show me that. That's where I kind of weeded through lots and lots of training materials for you, and I have those links. So if you say, I'm not so confident in that, you might want to do some of these tutorials that fill in your gaps. And then also we're going to exchange messages through Google Group and Google Chat to support one another. So that's through the week, and then at the end of the week on Thursday or Friday, and there's a survey at the end of this orientation where we're going to try to decide what day we're going to have our live meeting. Hopefully we can get to where most people can attend the same one, because it's better if you're all in there at the same time. It might be that we have to have 2 sessions. This is just the same information, just a little bit more in a calendar view. So today is the 1st of June, and we're having orientation this week. Thursday, Friday is kind of our let's work out the bugs and kinks and make sure everybody has access to their materials and we're ready to go. In my mind, the week is Saturday through Friday. You might want to do Monday through Sunday, whichever way works for you. But if you can have, like I said, in the green squares, if you can have the Google Fundamentals units done before Tuesday, that gives us Tuesday and Wednesday to fill in the gaps, and Thursday or Friday is our weekly check-in. So we're going to do that each week through June. And then in July, we're going to take the Google exam, and that's offered through Google. And I just suggest you do it earlier rather than later when everything's fresh in your mind. So June kickoff, that's what you're listening to right now. I have a pre-test for you. That's because, anytime we make you eligible for CEUs or semis, there's got to be a pre-test and a post-test. So you're going to do the pre-test today. It's okay if you don't do well on it. That just shows that you're going to have a lot of growth over the month. During June, you'll do the Google Fundamental Training units, participate in our weekly show and tell, and then do any of those other tutorials that you might need to fill in those gaps. July 1st is our last official day, so we're just a 1-month group. There'll be a post-test. Again, that's for CEUs, the pre and post-test. And then sometime during July, we're going to take the Google Certified Educator Level 1 exam. That's something that's an online test. You schedule it when you want to schedule it, and we'll talk more about that at the end of the month. But I recommend that you set some time for yourself at the beginning of July to take it. By July 10th, we're going to send you a certificate of completion and a link to where if you want CEUs or semis, you can link to that to apply for those. Also in July, we're going to say, hey, did you like this? Did we figure this out? Did it go well for you? Do you want to keep going with the group? And let's get ready for level 2 exam. So we'll do level 2. It's a little more complex. The tasks and the tools are a little more complicated. So that group will run August and September. And I know that's when we're going back to school. So we're going to have to progress a little more slowly for level 2. And so that will be August and September. So that's kind of what the summer looks like as far as the instructional leader group goes. Again, just to make it really, really clear, you get, quote unquote, get 2 different things by participating. If you attend the webinar, you're doing the webinar today and do the pre-test, and you participate in our weekly show and tell sessions, you do our pre and post tests, then you're going to be eligible at the end of the month for CEUs, semis, or OSLs. Remember, Reach doesn't hand those out to you. We give you a certificate saying that you completed this, and then you apply for them through the RESA. The other thing you can get is to take the Google Certified Educator exam. Now, you can say, I could care less about CEUs or semis, Holly. I just want to take this exam. So you can participate. You can use these resources, and you can just take the exam in July. I will tell you, like we tell our students, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. This is very much an adult learning model. This isn't I'm going to pour this information into your brain. So you can get CEUs, semis, or OSLs. That's a Mississippi thing. But then the international certification, that comes through Google. Okay, I spoke really quickly about this earlier. This is the skills checklist, and during the training, the live orientation, I gave the link to this in the chat. But this is also linked for you in this presentation, and this presentation is in our shared Google Drive. So you can get a link to this. This is just the first page, but this is a great way to think through and say, okay, let me think about Google Drive. Do I know how to create a file? Do I know how to access files? Do I know how to organize files? And this kind of lets you self-evaluate what you know and what you need to know. So the skills checklist, when you hear me say skills checklist, that's what I mean. All right, so this was kind of where we hit our snag with our orientation. People are using their school Google accounts, linked accounts, and that is something that Google Meet did not like us doing. So I don't think that it's as big of an issue for accessing the Google Drive. So what I want you to do is try to log into Google, and you're going to go into Google Drive, and I want you to see if you can see what's on this next slide. So once you log into Google Drive, and you know how to do that because you just go to google.com and then you click on the little link that says Google Drive. You make sure you're in Google Drive. You're going to look over here that says shared with me. So you should have a folder that's shared with you called GCE, Google Certified Educator Level 1 Shared. That's where all your materials are going to be for this. If you are listening to this and you're like, I don't see it, just send me an email. I'll send you the direct link, and then it will ask me to share it with you. And you should be able to access it there. So that's where you're going to kind of live for this month, in that shared drive. So log into Google Drive, look over in the left-hand menu where it says shared with me, and look for the folder that's called Google Certified Educator Level 1 Shared. That's where our documents are going to be. I have content for you 3 different ways. So, we promote universal design for learning, so I want you to have multiple ways of getting the information. The first, and I kind of think of the Google Doc with hyperlinks as kind of it was my lesson plan or my outline for us. It was my master organizing document. It's not very pretty. It's just a table. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. It's just a table with hyperlinks. It literally is a Google document with things linked in the document. That's one way. Another way is I did put it in Google Classroom. Guys, I'll tell you it's not my favorite, just because of the Google Classroom is really designed for back and forth communication when I'm just trying to share the content kind of in a one direction way. But if you want to see what it looks like in Google Classroom, you can go to Google Classroom and our class codes there. Okay, so we are trying to find a day and time that we can all meet for our 1 hour weekly show and tell. So if you will, once again, get your mobile device, scan that QR code, and if you can tell me what days you cannot meet. I'm hoping to get everybody at the same day and time. It's looking like we might have to have 2 different days and times so that everybody could come. But if you could complete this survey and let me know what days and times you cannot come to. So say I cannot come on Thursday morning. It looks like 57% so far cannot come on Thursday mornings. 57% cannot come on Thursday mornings at 10:30, 9:30, or at Friday at 1 p.m. So we're going to have to figure out the day and time. So if you will do that, that poll will stay active, and you can put that in for me. All right, so that was a lot of information in a little bit of time in a way that we didn't think that we would be giving you that information. So what on earth, Holly, am I supposed to be doing? Okay, first, you're going to complete the pretest. That is going to be linked in that email that I sent you, the link to this recording, but it's also linked if you open up this Google Slides presentation in our shared Google Drive. You can click the link right here on the slide. If you could not get into the Google Meet today, the live Google Meet, or when you go into Google Drive, you're not seeing that shared file, let me know. I know that there are at least these 3 that I need a different address that's linked to a Google account. If you would go ahead and install the Google Chat app on your device, your mobile device, that's going to be where I can give you some quick updates and reminders and prompts. Use that skills checklist to think about what am I good at and what am I not so good at. But most importantly, before next Tuesday, we're not going to have a meeting Thursday or Friday, but before next Tuesday, if you can do Google Fundamentals Units 1 through 3, if you need some of those supplemental videos, and then look at the additional Workspace, Chrome, Help, Drive, and Forms videos. Okay, so that's your to-do list. So go back to the email where I sent you this to the Google group, and you'll have the link to the pretest and the presentation for you there. All right, thank you, and I do look forward to working with each of you and learning from you. Thank you so much.